It's the first time a ministerial-level RCEP meeting has been held in China. Over the course of 2 days, participants concluded talks in the areas of finance, telecommunications, and other professional services. Overall, more than two-thirds of the negotiations around market access have been finalized since 2012, and more than 80% of the entire agreement's wording has already been reached. While addressing the opening ceremony of the event, Chinese Vice Premier Hu Chunhua said significant progress has been made. But he added that some of the differences between states are tough and sensitive to negotiate. Regarding market access, Hu says goods, investment, and services are the core areas up for discussion. He spoke about China's proposals in this regard.
推动形成区域统一大市场是我们
Forming an integrated regional and major market is our common goal. While opening up our own markets, we will also gain the opportunity to access other member states' markets. We hope each party thinks in the long term and, based on the general balance, facilitates our work creatively and takes a more flexible stance. This is so we can reach an agreement that can create the biggest benefits for each member.
In terms of making rules, Hu says member countries still have big differences in e-commerce, investment, and intellectual property rights. Hu is urging members to seek common ground.
对涉及国家安全
On those sensitive issues relevant to national security, we hope all parties can understand one another, fully take care of others' concerns, and try to find more pragmatic and flexible solutions. On purely economic and technological issues, we hope members can decrease market barriers, facilitate trade and investment, and coordinate different stances by referring to international standards.
RCEP was initiated in 2012 by ASEAN. The negotiating parties include the 10 ASEAN countries and another 6 nations: China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and India. It aims at establishing an integrated regional market by cutting tariffs and reducing non-tariff barriers among members. Prior to Saturday's meeting, they have held 27 rounds of negotiations, 15 rounds of ministerial-level meetings, and 2 summits. The top leaders of the 16 countries have decided to finish the negotiations by the end of this year. So it's in the final stage of negotiations. The RCEP member states account for more than 3.5 billion people, nearly half of the world's population. They contribute about 32% of the global GDP and nearly 30% of the world's foreign trade. When the agreement is reached, it will facilitate the convergence of local industrial chain and value chain and allow for the integration of the regional economy.
A Sunday morning gathering under the Chinese national flag at the Star Ferry Pier. Saluting the flag and singing the national anthem together. Hundreds of Hong Kong residents show their respect for the national flag and their love of the country.
I feel very excited every time I see the national flag rising. The prosperity and stability of Hong Kong hasn't come easy. We should try our best to protect and develop it.
The patriotic movement comes after Saturday's riot where radical protesters tore down the Chinese national flag and threw it into the sea. Participants of the rally voiced their condemnation of the act and called for respect of the national flag.
Showing respect to the national flag is just as important as respecting one's parents. If they have no respect for it, it cannot be tolerated.
The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council has strongly condemned the rioters, urging the Hong Kong authorities to bring the rioters to justice. The Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region also condemned the radical protesters.
A group of young messengers for China-Africa friendship are competing to offer ways to improve life in Africa.
We are Cubic Sugar and we want to donate some drones to the Africa Malawi.
Our project is to transport vaccine and the vaccine freezers to the Uganda.
We want to bring these mosquito nets to Africa because Africa has a severe problem with malaria.
A program called Digital Library Africa aims to raise funds by selling Chinese story recordings in English and helps children in South Africa with rare diseases.
With the funds and the money, we'll be transferring it to South Africa or anywhere part of Africa where our project will be held. I'm helping people back home or in my country.
Together with também, these young students, between the ages of 10 and 17, are offering ideas to fight female genital causing in Kenya, deliver clean drinking water in Zambia, and provide vaccine transportation to Uganda. And their performances have deeply impressed the judges, who include professors from top U.S. universities.
I was incredibly impressed with all of the groups.
These are these youth that are going to be leaders of tomorrow, connecting with counterparts in Africa. That connection is what brings hope for the future.
PBIC was founded in 2017 by the China-Africa Business Council and the China Social Assistance Foundation to promote exchanges between young people in China and Africa. And after 3 years of development, the contest has attracted hundreds of Chinese students.
I hope PBIC can let people understand Africa and the public welfare there better, and let children turn their ideas into executable reality as well.
As far as I know, projects put forward during last year's contest, like musical classroom, are already being implemented in Africa. They have sent musical instruments to some schools in Malawi. The Vaccine Frigo project, which aimed at making vaccine transportation easier in Africa, is also largely welcomed by local people.
The program is also supported by the United Nations. Its work ties into the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, while giving the young participants an opportunity for growth. For the implementation of their projects in Africa in the future, the young students are full of confidence.
He is a builder and a designer, and a dog lover who works wonders. Otto Zambrano applies the lessons he learned in engineering school to old wheels, PVC pipes, and other scraps to help disabled dogs walk again.
I consider myself a giver of happiness because animals become happier when I help them.
Today, Zambrano is getting ready to give some of that happiness to a 7-year-old poodle named Tita, putting the final touches on a wheelchair he's made especially for her. Months ago, Tita suffered a spinal compression, leaving 2 of her legs paralyzed. Since then, she has spent much of her time in owner Maria Laman's arms.
The veterinarian told me, you have 2 options. You can make her a car, or you can put her to sleep. And I said, no. In my mind, no way would I do that.
Zambrano has helped dozens of dogs, some of them pets, some of them strays.
Caracas animal shelters say there's been a significant increase in the numbers of dogs abandoned in the city in the last several years. The economic crisis has forced millions of Venezuelans to leave the country and to leave their dogs behind.
Many of Otto Zambrano's devices have gone to dogs rescued by the non-profit Diario Adopta Foundation. One of them, a Chihuahua named Paris, is now back in the park and back in the running, transformed by a device Otto made for her over a year ago.
They usually have a sad look, but the moment they start to walk again, their look changes immediately.
Each device is made to order. As Zambrano fits the straps on Tita's wheelchair, he shows her how to use it, teaching her how to walk again. Zambrano makes the mobility devices for the disabled dogs in Caracas free of charge, and as Tita starts her new life, his gift of happiness is there for all to see.